As this video I did on the 11th closes in on 600,000 views and continues to engage people in a very raw, emotional way, I'm going to come back to it to talk about some things that I think would be a great blessing to people out there, even those that think I'm crazy, think that I'm wrong and call me names. That's fine. You have kids, you get used to being called names. But I just wanted to show you something that came out very, very recently in the news. Now, in case anybody doesn't know what we're talking about here, this map I have color-coded that the states here in the middle would be very, very dangerous places to be if the power were to go down, if there were to be a lack of security forces or some kind of a national emergency. Out here, you might find yourself at the mercy of roving gangs of criminals that had gotten out of prison. One of the biggest pushbacks that I've got, I mean, other than the make-believe story about gassing the prisoners or the make-believe story about mass executions with guillotines and ridiculous stuff like that, I guess the number 3 story would be about how dumb prisoners are, and if they were really so smart, they would have never gotten caught and all this other silliness. Well, there's this. Idaho prison inmates exploited tablet vulnerability to steal nearly $250,000 in credits. Now, I'll get you guys up to speed on what JPay is. JPay is a system where you can help finance your loved one on the inside. You put money from the outside on an account, and then they have access to it. Now, some prisons have these little tablets, little 8-inch deals, and I think there's a picture of one down here, that allows inmates to download music. There's a kiosk they have to go to. They have to get approved for it. And they can play games, and they can send emails. Now, what they do is they send an email, and then it doesn't get sent right away. It goes into a queue, and then it goes to a kiosk where they plug it in. Emails like this can be reviewed by the guards, and then they can allow it to be transmitted. So it's not like this is just a free day type of thing, but even with all of the restrictions and all of the security in place, a group of, let's see if I get this right, 364 prison inmates housed across a series of Idaho corrections facilities collectively stole nearly $225,000 worth of digital credits by exploiting a vulnerability in tablets provided by a company called JPay. Now, normally it's just something where you put money on prisoners, what they call books, and then they can go buy stuff at the commissary and store and, normal stuff. This is another level, the electronics. But this just gives you an insight into the ingenuity and the drive and the intelligence of a lot of people on the inside. So don't think for 1 minute if there were some kind of a break that they would get out, that you would have some huge intellectual advantage over these guys. In fact, quite the opposite. These guys have been in survival mode for a real, real long time. And like I said, what you call shit hits the fan, they call Tuesday. JPay provides inmates with access to outside world and prisons office to the outside world, and prisons often adopt its services to help with rehabilitation education. It does not appear to use taxpayer money to fund any of its services, nor does any of its revenue from digital sales typically go to the state. Instead, JPay will either let family members or friends of inmates purchase the tablet for them, or it will foot the bill for the device itself, as it did for 53,000 inmates in the New York State prison system earlier this year. So, anyway, you can shoot that idea of prisoners not being resourceful and ingenious and organized, because, like the article said, across a series of prisons, and the amount of money they got was staggering. The vast majority of these were in $1,000 increments. And you can read this on theverge.com, just like it sounds, THEVERGE.com. Or you can just Google Idaho Prison Inmates Tablet Hacks JPay, J-P-A-Y, all one word. And I'm sure you'll be able to find it. It's a leading story. Now, I also, and to some people's not delight, let's put it that way, I put up these poll questions where I throw out a scenario and I see how people react to it. This issue with the lasers that I've been talking about that make shooters incredibly vulnerable to being instantly blinded and sometimes blinded permanently, I have not seen the answer to, and the answer is very, very easy. And it's something they trained us for in the military a long time ago. They must have stopped. That's all I can think, or I don't have any Vietnam vets out there listening to me, or anybody from Korea, or even the early Gulf War, or Just Cause. Because it's actually a very simple thing. But we will read this for you guys real quick. Your survival group is doing well 10 days into a complete grid failure. But you are starting to see roving groups more and more as the days pass. They haven't confronted your group directly yet, but your fear is that it's only a matter of time. 48 hours later, around 0200, you hear a loud crash. You grab your rifle, you look out the window and begin scanning the perimeter for threats. All of a sudden, your eyes jam shut as an intense blue flash from a Sanwoo 7-watt striker causes a burning sensation you feel throughout the back of your skull. Blinded and in searing pain, you hear people from your group also screaming, "Oh God, I'm blind," as well, followed by laughter from other unknown voices getting closer and closer. What is your next move? Now I put two options here. One is surrender. Once you're blind, your offensive tactics become worthless. And number two was just another option I will describe using the comments. Now in 6 hours, I've had 60 plus people come and out of 174 votes and actually put what they would do, showing that most people said that there would be another option, but they didn't use the comment section to describe it. The idea here was to get you to think outside of the box and to show how sometimes all the best laid plans can get torn apart with something very, very simple. What they trained you to do was simply, when you were looking around at night, keep one eye closed. Always, always, always. If you're coming from a situation where you're out of a dead sleep and you need to go scan it, you always keep one eye closed. And there was a movie, I can't remember the name of it now, it was a Vietnam era movie, I do believe, where they were walking through a swamp and all of a sudden a bunch of fireworks went off and all the American soldiers were looking up and wow, it was really cool. And then as the fireworks died off, they all realized they were blind and the Viet Cong opened up on them and took them out. I can't remember. I don't want to say Platoon, maybe it was, but something like that. But you can read this on a lot of sites about simple night vision. So if you do get hit with one of these lasers, at least it's just one eye. And you'll very, very clearly know what color they're using. And so if you have had the foresight to get glasses, to get some type of glasses, you'll know which ones to get, the blue ones, the green ones, the red ones, the purple ones. But you'll be able to warn also and still be able to move around. But in 61 comments, I didn't see anyone say simple, just keep one eye closed. So take that for what it is. Just learn to, if you're operating at night, have all of your patrols be operating that way. Even if you've got to put two guys together, have them walk side by side. The guy on the right keeps his right eye open. The guy on the left keeps his left eye open. And so you'll always have one eye protected. Or use an eye patch if you want to, if it's that too much of a dizzying effect. Because those threats are out there. They wouldn't have even had to use a laser in this case. They could have used bright lights, especially on your patrols. Flash them really, really hard and when they're not seeing it coming, and then all of a sudden they'll be blind just instantaneously, just long enough. But that was standard patrol training. I can't believe that no one got it. So anyway, I guess we'll leave it there. We're at about 9 minutes anyway, but the idea here with this video is to get people thinking about statistics when it comes to burglaries and home invasions. If you want to look these up for yourself, this is Brandon Gale, BrandonGaille.com. These statistics would surprise you about how successful these guys are, even when shit hasn't hit the fan. And this one with the top 10, there's one here at the bottom, two right by each other, that I think will make you step back and think a minute. Number 9, someone is home during nearly 3 out of every 10 burglaries. That means 30% of the time someone is there. only 13% of the burglaries in 2014 resulted in arrests. What that means is that less than half the time someone's home, they even figure out who did it. There's only about it's like 86.4% success rate of burglaries in 2014, and that was when there was security systems and police to call and the power was on. So we will leave it there, but just understand there are different tactics, different techniques that can be used to disable security forces that they probably would not see coming. And if they didn't have some basic military training, keeping one eye closed at night, they would be very, very vulnerable to it. But we'll leave it there. Like, share, subscribe.